an overview of a CV. Let's go to the next slide. What points? What are the noting points that recruiters look for in a CV? We've talked about a 7 seconds snapshot of a recruiter just looking at your CV and maybe receiving it on soft copy and looking at it. Remember, the recruiter might be going through 1,000 CVs. So your CV must stand out. So what are those issues? What are the issues that we look at to make sure that your CV stands out and that your CV reaches the point where you are called for an interview or that you're selected. So you must look into details, certain perfections that don't be in a hurry to complete your CV, but look into certain details with perfection. Go a notch higher to make sure that your CV is really well perfected and that it is consistent with what you're going to attach. So doing a perfect CV is investing in yourself and your future, and it must be honest, so that when we look at your CV, and remember, nowadays the recruiters can actually know your footprints from the internet. So what are your footprints in the internet? When you give a different CV and we go to the internet and find something that is inconsistent with what is in your CV. So honesty is all upon as you give your CV. I have put there a point strategic fit. Most people will ask, what do you mean by strategic fit? Make sure that before you complete your CV and you want to send it to a particular person or an employer, you make sure you will have to know exactly what that employer needs. And there are certain things that employers look for in a CV that are not just the technical issues. There are certain soft skills that employers will look at. Especially today, the employers will go to the internet, which kind of groups do you associate with? For example, I had somebody apply for a job and she wanted to be a researcher, to work for a research firm. And they asked her if she can research on any area and to sign a waiver that she can research on any area, including things that are not go against her Christian values. So you must, especially through the internet, you must know that organization. What do they stand for? If it goes against certain values that you stand for, maybe you might decline sending your CV to such organizations or work for such organization. So make the employers dig in depth, look for strategic fits nowadays in more than even the technical issues. And the strategic fit will talk more about it, especially when it comes to team building and other issues, like we'll talk about also emotional intelligence, which are other soft issues in organizations. So let's go to the next slide. Why do you need a CV? It must anchor you to an interview stage. Not everywhere you apply do you get called for an interview. So when you are presenting your CV, because you've worked on it so much, you might grade yourself higher. Sometimes you step out and look at your CV as if you're looking at somebody else's document. Is this, what would you look at it and critique it, or give your friend to look at it again, to see, so that it goes to at least the job interview stage. And we'll talk about the job interview stage, what to do in the job interview stage later. So it is also a marketing tool. And trust me, when people apply for jobs, you apply for they've advertised for 2 positions, and you get 5,000 applicants. What happens? They will just look for that particular CV that really has been detailed well and stands and at least catches the eye of the recruiter. So it should provide information about your skill. Your CV should have your information about your skills, education, experience, and to a potential employer. So that you should also find out about the employer. What do the employer stand for? The employer's vision, the employer's mission, so that you know you align your CV sometimes with the employer's mission and employer's vision. Let's go to the next. Well, there are different types of CVs, and one that is a traditional CV is a chronological CV. But this chronological CV, we usually call it reverse chronological CV. A reverse chronological CV is one that you start from the later years, experiences in your life as you move backwards. So you start from what you've acquired in 2022, sorry, then you go back to what you did in 2021. And they should be, if there are gaps, you must fill the gaps. And the gaps will be filled in the cover page. We will explain in the cover page why you have a gap in your CV. For example, maybe you did not do anything in 2019, maybe Corona set in, but what did you do? What were you doing within that period of 2029 should be covered in your cover page. So we look at functional. This is skill-based, and it highlights your career achievements. So as functional usually is especially for top management jobs, higher management jobs. So you must highlight certain career achievements, especially if you've gotten certain awards. Highlight those awards in your CV when you're dealing with a functional kind of CV. And let me tell you, the people who never go to an achievement to be called for an interview are those people who just go to the internet, look for templates, and fill in their details. Remember, as you send these CVs also, the recruiters have these templates. And so it shows that you have not put in any work. They will not come back to you. Okay, some employers are very sympathetic to maybe your feelings, so they will reply that maybe at this stage they are not able to call you for an interview. So they don't tell you did not pass, but at this stage they will not call you for an interview. So put in the work. Don't just go to the internet and take anybody else's CV and then fill in the different gaps for yourself. So that functional CV must be like tailor-made to suit certain issues that the employers are looking for. Then we have a creative CV. A creative CV is actually for mostly for people in marketing, in media, graphic, design, and something similar to that. Their CVs are most colorful. Your CVs, mostly in health sciences, go in black and white, but in media they could go in different colors. In marketing also we are allowed different colors, but I don't think you fall in that category. Then there's the combination of different CVs. You use the reverse chronological CV type, but you also blend it with the functional CV to highlight certain issues that the employer is looking for. Then we have the academic CV. Mostly this one is for people in academics who want to do research who are looking for scholarships for maybe further education or funding. So this particular kind of CV will include at least your teaching experience or the research work that you have done. And in this kind of CV, the research that you have done, especially big research, you have to highlight the topics that you did, the awards that you have received, the licenses that you have been awarded, that you have been given from maybe, like you have a medical board, I think, that awards you a license to practice. So you must include such, and then you must include publications of books and scientific reports. So when you include publication of books, you must include the title of the book, at least in a bullet. And what I will also talk about later is that each particular area of your CV should not have more than 3 or 4 bullets, because then it becomes very tiresome for the recruiter to look at. So let's move to the next slide, please. How to format your CV. It's not hard to format your CV, but I tell you, many times as a recruiter, we've been called to form panels in recruitment. You find that somebody has forgotten their telephone number. but that is the person you really were keen on. So you cannot reach them. So then contact information, make sure your phone number is there, make sure your email address is there, if necessary, even the physical address. So have a CV summary or objective. What is the objective? In the CV format, what would be your objective? For example, a 6th-year student, what would be your objective? It should be maybe something you aspire to be in the next 5 years. What would you want to be in the next 5 years? Where would you want to be in the next 5 years? So it would look for work experience. You must include work experience. Which areas have you? And remember, when you put work experience, highlight the passion areas so that you go into the area you're passionate about. Because I sometimes think it's not just about getting a job, but getting a job you're passionate about. So include experiences, especially which you're passionate about, so that when you're recruited, when you're employed, you're placed in the correct area of your career. Then the skills and education, of course. There's an optional area, not everybody that has a publication and conferences attended. So it's good to up. But as you go higher the ladder of your career, there are some conferences you attended just for the fun of it. So please do not include such conferences. It does not apply to your career at all. And students that are not students, everybody are included. I would like to show how I have attended conferences. I have moved from one place to another. So please put the conferences that are aligned to your career and the publications that are aligned to your career as well. The other optional thing to put in a CV is referees. But in Kenyan organizations, it is kind of a must to put at least three referees, people who know you. Reach out to these people, so that when they receive a certain email, they don't delete it or put it in an area in the trash before they read it. So sometimes you tell your referees before time that you have applied, and maybe they might be asked to say something about you and to write about what they know about you. So can we move to the next slide, please? So we talked about the contact. We said you put your name, your phone number, your email, your title, your location. So in the academic field, it is very important to include your title and your professor. See, you're a professor. You must include that, your location, where you place. Social media handles, if it is necessary. Are you a Facebooker? Are you in Twitter? Are you in now I see there's TikTok and other issues. Are you there? Sometimes it is important, especially if you're working for certain organizations that want their presence felt in that social media platform. And then your age and marital status. Many people are debating this particular number 7, whether you should include your age, whether you should include your marital status. So it depends on the recruiter. Or whether you should include your gender. Are you male or are you female? So some people think that this has been overtaken by events, but some employers, especially very traditional employers, would want to know your age and would want to know your marital status, because there are some levels that are age specific for some organizations, not all. So let's go to the next. So CV summary and objective. Your CV summary or the objective, the main objective, should tend to have this kind of impression that within just 7 seconds, there's a test called the 7 seconds test that you look at it at a glance, and I'm able to say what kind of person, of kind of individual you are. So, at least use very short sentences in your CV. Don't use very long sentences. Don't write a paragraph. Just a sentence or so using bullets. Then use clear language. Use clear language. And for beginners, go for a CV objective. Remember, we were looking at experience, and then we are saying for beginners, you probably don't have experience. For a beginner, they must have an objective, because even beginners who have no experience are employable. So you have a CV objective, and make sure that most times when you're called for an interview, if you just copy-pasted that objective, the employer will ask you what your objective is, the prospective employer. And if they ask you what your objective is and you can't remember your objective, they know you're not a serious individual. So if you have at least a work experience for more than 2 years, you can do a CV summary with work experience. Next page, please. So what is a CV summary versus objective? So the summary, the jobs, the years you've worked, or your experiences, relevant achievements, responsibilities. What do you look for in your goals? As opposed to objective, remember we say that a young person in their career can have a CV objective. So what do you look for? Your skills, your education, your certificate relevant to your title, and the types of responsibility how you will help out, how you can apply what you have learned. How well can you apply what you have learned? There are some people who have learned very good, they are good, they have very good certificates, but when they are put to test in the job, then maybe they cannot execute the job. So the employer will want to know such issues by just a CV objective. So what about work experience? When you have work experience, what are you going to put down in the CV? The main section of this CV is where the recruiter will jump into the job title and the position, and then the company name, the location, the description. The recruiter will also want to look at the achievements and the responsibilities, the date you were employed, so that's sometimes some of these things are repetitive, because when you write the job, the dates that you have been employed, the recruiter will already know the number of years in experience. So when they ask you how long have you been in this field, and you say you have written you've been in that field from 2020, then they say I have 4 years experience. There's already inconsistency. So what most recruiters look for is consistency and the truth and honesty in your CV before they even meet you. We have talked about the reverse chronological order, which is the latest version. Don't use people's templates in the internet, just come up with your own. So include both soft and hard skills where applicable. So if you're applying for a job where it is highly technical, of course you must include your technical skills. But there's issues also. You might be very good at the technical skills, but you're not good at the soft issues. You're not a team player. You cannot work with other people. Then the organization you might be a very high achiever in your technical issues, technical skills, but you cannot fit and work in the environment with other people, so they might find it very difficult to recruit you. So how would you know somebody has soft skills? For example, are they in fellowship? Do they fellowship together? Is she or he a leader in a particular group? Do you have anything else apart from your normal career, apart from your course in the university? Do you do anything else apart from study and do what is required for you to attain your degree? Some employers look at that. Are you a member of any other club? Are you a member of something else? Do you volunteer your services? Especially when it comes to scholarships, they will look for, have you done any community work? And for example, what kind of community work? Do you visit